Hey guys, what's up? Fan here again, and today I'm bringing you guys another video, and today what I'll be covering is the Kaelthas patch notes. So it's been like 4 or 5 days since the patch was released, and I've had a bit of time to play around with everything in it. And I think I have a pretty good idea of what this patch is going to be like. So today I'm going to go through the relevant patch note changes, especially the balance changes. I'm going to tell you guys what I think about them, and I'm going to kind of talk about what happened last patch and what I think will happen this patch. So yeah, basically I'm gonna be trying to tell you or trying to figure out what's gonna be happening in the future with all these changes. And without further ado, let's just get started real fast here. Now, first thing we want to look at is talents. Now, there's 6 talent changes. I think the first 3 changes are pretty, they're not very big. They're kind of nice, but they're not going to affect anything. And on the contrary, the next 3 changes are very, very big changes that are you know, potentially they'll change the direction that the entire gameplay goes through. So let's start by looking at Clairvoyance here. Now, this breaks units out of stealth when you place it on a stealth unit, right? So that's pretty cool. That's kind of intuitive. When you drop a Clairvoyance on top of like a stealth unit, you would expect it to be broken out of stealth, so that's really cool. But overall, this is not like a big deal. It's not going to break the game or anything like that. It's just kind of a neat thing. Now, next thing is focus attacks. Focus attacks, the bonus to basic attack damage increased from 50 to 75%. Now, focus attacks is a skill that no one has ever gotten on any hero that can get it, right? So this is a step in the right direction, although it's like a very, very small step in the right direction. Let me just compare focused attacks with searing attacks, right? Yeah, it's on a different like talent level tier, but let's just compare the two because they're pretty similar. So searing attacks is gotten occasionally by some heroes, right? And what searing attacks does is every single auto attack for like the next 5 seconds does 50% bonus damage for a little bit of mana. What focus attack does is your next auto attack in 10 seconds does 50% increased auto attack damage, and every auto attack you do reduces the cooldown by 1 second, which is like not very much, right? So when you're comparing those two skills, searing attacks, every single attack, every second you get 50% bonus damage. Focused attacks, it's like every maybe 4 or 5 or 6 seconds, you're gonna get 50% bonus damage. So you can see how big the difference is between those two skills and why this skill is just really not picked by anyone who can have it. It's just way, way, way too weak of a skill. Considering like, the game is in the state where burst damage is really important, and, for most carries, especially at the competitive level, it's very, very hard to get consistent auto attacks off without dying instantly. This skill is just like, I don't know, it's so weak on so many different levels, it's just not worth it. And the change is not going to make it worth it either, right? I think like this would need to be like tripled. It would need to go to 150% bonus attack damage for it to even have a shot of being picked. So yeah, this skill is really weak. It's a step in the right direction, but they need to buff it a lot more if they want to keep this concept. Follow through bonus to basic attack damage is increased from 25 to 40%. Once again, step in the right direction. Follow through was also pretty weak, much for the same reasons focus attack is weak, but follow through is like, obviously the scaling is way better than focused attacks. So maybe you can pick this on like Sonia or Thrall are the two that I thought of that might work, and actually pick it. The other hero was Sylvanas, but they actually changed Sylvanas to only have 25% basic attack damage increase if you're getting follow through, um, which just means that it's probably not worth it for Sylvanas. So yeah, once again, not the biggest deal in the world. Now let's get to the ones that are like a big deal. Healing Ward first, right? So Healing Ward can now be struck by AoE abilities, and the way they're going to try and justify that is Healing Ward now has scaling health. Well, the problem with this is that, like, okay, so 2 patches ago, healing wards could be struck by AoE abilities, and what happened was that it would literally get one shot by any AoE ability ever. So, you drop your healing ward and the Vala on the other team decides to multi-shot your entire team, right? That Vala probably wasn't even aiming for the healing ward, but what would happen is that since the AoE of like multi-shot and other abilities are so big, the healing ward would just instantly die to anything, right? So it was basically super not worth it because every time a fight broke down, um, you had to place the healing ward in the fight for it to get any use. And if you did that, it just got killed immediately by like some random AoE spell, right? So it was basically useless. Um, and and then they changed it so that it no longer gets hit by AoE, which was last patch, and healing ward was pretty good last patch. Now this patch, they changed it back to that it can get hit by AoE, right? And they're trying to make it viable by giving it scaling health, so it gets more health per level. Well, the problem with this is the scaling health they gave it is actually like nothing. It's literally nothing. So maybe with auto attacks, it might take like two, maybe three auto attacks at best in the earlier levels to kill it, but if you compare the health here with the, let's say, multi-shot damage scaling from Vala, what you'll see is that Vala's multi-shot scaling has more than 50 damage at level 1, and I believe it gets more than 15 per level, right? So basically, it just means that Healing Ward still gets one shot by any AoE ever, right? Um, so that's really, really bad, and that alone can cause it to go out of existence. But on top of that, I believe there was an undocumented change where Healing Ward went from 15 seconds to 10-second duration. Um, so, like 2 patches ago, Healing Ward was 10-second duration, heals for 3% of your team's max HP. So overall, it was 30% max HP heal. Last patch, it was 15 seconds and 2% of your team's max HP, right? So over 15 seconds, that's still a 30% HP heal if it stays up all the time. So this time, they nerfed it by 5 seconds, so it only lasts 10 seconds. Um, and the healing is still at 2%, so you can only get 20% of your maximum health from a healing ward now. So, both of those changes means that healing ward is basically garbage, and probably not going to see that this patch whatsoever. Now, Ice Block can now be reactivated to cancel its effects early. This one is really cool in my opinion because, um, you know, basically there's more skill intensive use in terms of Ice Block, which I really like. Um, you know, Previously when you Ice Blocked, you would literally just be stuck in there for a long time, right? So it was really like a fringe pick. You couldn't pick it whenever you wanted. You had to pick it when there was like some kind of insane kind of burst damage going down, right? So you would only pick it if there was like a Tyrael, judgment into false dad laser kind of deal like onto you, right? Um, and obviously Ice Block would be good in that fringe case, but it wouldn't be good in many other cases. And the main reason for that is because if you don't block an overwhelming amount of damage with this spell, last patch you would just be like stuck in the ice cube for like 3 seconds, which is like an extremely long time. So if you're like on a healer or even if you're on like Jaina or something with ice block and you press it, like if you didn't already output all your healing or output all your damage and you press this battle or button, you're basically useless in the battle for 3 seconds, which is a pretty big deal, especially at higher levels, right? So it's really cool that you can just, activate it to kind of block any kind of damage, right? Like maybe like even if a Vala just like QWs you and you just activate Ice Block real quick, block that small amount of damage, and then activate it again to go back into the battle, it's just a lot better now in terms of versatility, and you're not stuck there for 3 seconds doing nothing, right? So really cool stuff. Next thing is promote, and basically promote is really strong right now from what we can see. And 2 patches ago, promote was permanent, and that was when promote was like borderline broken, right? It was just really, really strong. Split pushing was really, really like super annoying, and they nerfed the duration down to 15 seconds last patch, which is pretty bad. It made it kind of weak. And this patch, they increased the duration to 30 seconds. Well, my problem with this is that, 30 seconds on a promote minion is basically permanent, right? So, 15 seconds, there's a chance that the promote actually wears off. But when you increase it to 30 seconds, like, even if you promote a minion in the middle of the map, like that minion will probably reach the keep and still be promoted, right? So with that type of duration, you might as well just consider 30 seconds permanent. And, basically I consider this promote as permanent. And that just makes it really strong again because it's gonna shove lanes out for like an infinitely long amount of time, and it creates a lot of map pressure and it's just super annoying to deal with. So promote once again might as well be permanent, and it's really strong now. So let's move on to the heroes real fast. Nova, one in the chamber, increase from 50 to 80% damage. Like this is a good change, and like maybe you would pick it like over over the anti-armor shells in a few fringe cases. But like, especially like at the competitive level, if you're gonna be picking Nova, you want that damage, all of your damage to go out, like the second you break out of stealth. Um, so I don't really see this being too big of a deal, ultimately, because I think anti-armor shells fits Nova's style better. If you're just crunching the numbers, I think this is actually going to be better than anti-armor shells if you can kind of chain your spells together. So it does have some potential, but overall, anti-armor shells still fits Nova's theme better. So I feel like that's still going to be the prominent pick. Raynor, there's a few changes here. They basically buffed Inspire, which is nice. And then they changed the knockback distance from Q, which is not necessarily a good thing, right? Because if you're a carry, you're trying to kill someone, like you don't want to be knocking them back even further, because that's just going to be harder for you to kill them, right? Obviously, it has some benefits in terms of peeling, but your primary purpose as a range carry is to kill the person, and this doesn't really help. So I feel like this is kind of weird. Um, Overall, the changes are nice, but like Raynor's auto attack damage is pretty weak, even if you go for like a full-on auto attack build. So the inspired changes, while they are nice, while they are a step in the right direction, not enough to make Raynor like a top tier carry or anything. I think he'll be exactly where he was before, kind of like a lower tier carry. Now let's see, Specialist Abitha. So this one's pretty big. Locust Drain. The Bombarded Strain Locust's attack range is reduced by 30%. So this thing no longer outranges keeps and turrets, which is absolutely massive. Um, it'll still give you, lane pressure, so it'll still like push lanes out really well, which is nice, but you can no longer kind of like backdoor Abathur, and if left unattended, the locusts, they can no longer just like take out an entire wall and keep just with like five or six of them, right? Because last patch, if you had like five or six locusts in just one lane, they would literally just kill your entire wall and keep if you were like occupied in a battle or an objective and you couldn't go back in time. So this patch, what they'll do is, they'll actually go in range of the towers, go in range of the keep, and they'll drain some ammo, but they'll end up dying really fast, right? So it's a big, big difference here. And there's some minor increase to stab damage. So overall, at the higher level, I think Abathur was nerfed. It was a moderate nerf for sure because of this attack range nerf in particular. Moving on to Asthma Dan. Once again, this is basically promote. Bound minion is promote. Infinite promote means that Asthma Dan got a direct buff. It's a lot stronger. Um, yeah, that's about it. I think if you play like the stack and queue build with promote, um, it's a lot of potential there because you just run around clearing creep waves while you're like promoting other creep waves. There's a lot of synergy going on there. So I think Asmodan is buffed this patch. Gaslow, I'm not too sure about Gaslow, but basically I'm not gonna read all of this. The thing I was most hyped about was that we thought that the gravel bomb was gonna be faster, right? But this is like only a tiny, tiny bit faster, just to better align with the visual effects. So this is not, nearly substantial enough to matter in terms of wombo combos. And I think for the rest of Gaslow, some of my friends were saying that Gaslow actually appeared nerfed. But I haven't really played him or against him too much, so that's the extent of that for Gaslow. Murky, you now get an egg. That's pretty cool, but once again, not really a big deal. You get the egg at the Hall of Storms, so I guess if you constantly forget to like place an egg. That's good, but overall, not a big deal. Sylvanas, Remorseless, like I said, basically they changed the follow-through buff to only be 25% damage, which is exactly the same as last patch, and this basically just means unstable poison is still better for the Sylvanas 7 talent. Now, Lost Vikings change is pretty big. Lost Vikings, the jump cooldown increased from 20 to 30, which means it's a bit harder for them to survive so easily. Lost Vikings also become stunned for 1.5 seconds if the longbow is destroyed. So this is really nice. The biggest implication of this is you can no longer YOLO into the backline with all your Lost Vikings, like uh, do your Q, pop your E, and when you're about to die, pop your longbow, and then, after your longbow goes down, you pop your W and get out of there, or pop another Q. So you can't like, just YOLO the backline with these anymore. You have to like at least kind of stay with your team so your bow can't get instantly focused down. But overall, this does nothing to change the fact that the Vikings are just insanely strong at, split soaking experience. So I think that the Vikings last patch were like extremely overpowered, and the Vikings this patch are just kind of like, moderately overpowered. I still think they're like far, far above average, probably still an S tier hero, but no longer blatantly overpowered, which is nice. The play again change is kind of cool, but the main problem with play again is that it's just not good enough. Longbow, they didn't change the damage; they just changed like a thing that makes Vikings more vulnerable after it's over. So play again is never going to be taken with only this change. Okay, so Zagara Infest, basically like a different version of Promote, increased from 15 to 30 seconds. This is nice, but the problem with Infest is that it doesn't give your minions more HP. And that's like one of the primary benefits of Promote, so I don't think this is going to be used. Moving on to support Rhaegar, his healing totem increased from 45 to 60 seconds. Once again, another nerf to healing totem. Kind of sucks, just standardized it to all the other healing totems. But I don't think Rhaegar has anything. Maybe he does. This might actually make it so that Rhaegar doesn't even take healing totem at level 1, which would be quite sad. But yeah, not much other than that. Once again, we've talked about Farsight already. Of course, that's just Clairvoyance. And moving on here, Tacit, Oracle reveals enemies slightly faster. It's pretty cool, nothing special. The one cool thing about Tacit is that his Oracle reveals Zagara's creep tumors once again. It did not do that last patch. So, very nice there. And moving on to Warrior, of course, we have a new Brock. Now, a new Brock actually got a massive change in the way his Beetles works. And I think it was a massive, massive buff. His Beetles are basically, right now, they're like infinitely annoying. And you just like go into a battle, spam all your spells, and then you right click on one of their carries, right? And the beetles are just gonna like follow their carries around, attacking them just constantly until they die. And it's actually super annoying because, like, let's say you target a Vala. A Vala can't actually kill those beetles with one multi-shot. So she has to either take damage from like 3 or 4 beetles or like take the time to auto attack and kill them. So this thing is actually massively annoying, and I think it significantly improves Anub'arak's damage output, which is pretty nice. As such, most competitive players are using some variations of the Beetle build when they play Anub'arak now. Um, and yeah, it's pretty darn good. Pretty darn good. Now, in Pale, the casting delay was removed, and Burrow Charge, the casting delay was reduced. So basically, he feels more fluid. His stuns go off faster now. And overall, Anub'arak is a lot better. I would put him as maybe like the. I would put him maybe as like the third best tank right now, maybe even like the second best tank right now. So overall, I do think that Anub'arak is pretty darn strong. Heck, maybe he's even the best tank right now, like that's just how strong I think this Beetle change is. It's really, really good. And a lot of Anubraks are getting Locust Swarm now once again. Um, so yeah, overall this is pretty cool. Let's see, Chen. Chen really didn't get any relevant changes. Moving on to Diablo. Diablo basically, I'm not gonna read all this. I haven't played too much with him, but I've seen a lot of my friends play him, at the competitive level. And basically, the main things that I want to touch upon here is that it seems like it's a lot harder for Diablo to get his combo off, his QE combo to flip a target over. That was the primary reason most teams were picking Diablo, especially in the early game, to combo that with like a Turond or something. And basically, it's a lot harder to get that combo off. And it seems like what's causing the change is the fact that Diablo is no longer unstoppable during Shadow Charge. Um, and because of this, basically like anything that like kind of slows Diablo or stuns him during the Shadow Charge will make it very hard for him to immediately use his E, his overpower on the target. Even something like Rhaegar Totem, right? So if you put a Rhaegar Totem in front of the Diablo and then he shadow charges onto like a different target, that totem will slow him enough so that he won't be able to immediately pick up the other target with overpower. So overall, his combo was nerfed because of this, and like it just seems like he's a lot weaker as well. I think they nerfed his max HP, so he's like less tanky as well. And obviously a lot of talent reworks. Maybe there's like an OP build that I don't know about yet, but so far, it seems like the consensus is that Diablo got hit pretty hard with the nerf. He's a lot weaker than he was last patch, and his primary QE combo isn't nearly as good as it used to be. So moving on, ETC. I think ETC also, like in my opinion, this was actually a nerf to ETC. Like all of these changes combined. The main things I want to touch upon is that he got what's it called, Echo Pedal from level 4 removed, and his Guitar Hero at level 7 also no longer does like the what it used to. So those two talents combined used to give ETC a lot of early lane power, early game pressure. It allowed him to clear waves pretty easily and 1v1 duel people really easily with the damage that those two talents provided. Now he basically has very, very little damage in the early game. Um, Even going to mid to late game, I don't think he has much damage anymore because those two damage talents were removed. And instead, he got a lot of changes that kind of increases his CC ability. So overall, I think ETC is nerfed because he lost a lot of damage. He gained some CC, but I don't think it was worth the trade in the end. Um, and basically, I'm just gonna go down and touch upon his ultimate skills. These are what a lot of people are focusing on right now. And basically, upon death, for this one, upon death, you know, ETC will cast Mosh Pit at his death location. So that's kind of cool. But this is pretty gimmicky and it's pretty easy to avoid once you've seen it a few times. The second one is allows ETC to power slide during Mosh Pit, right? Um, well, the thing about this one is that it's also pretty cool, and people are saying that it's OP, and maybe it is, but in my opinion, this is also very gimmicky. The main problem with ETC's Mosh Pit is that it can easily get instantly canceled, and if you're playing at like very high MMR levels, even if you can power slide during Mosh Pit, that doesn't change the fact that people will instantly cancel your Mosh Pit, right? Um, if people see you winding up the mosh pit, they'll immediately just send a stun at you. So while this is definitely like a buff to mosh pit, I don't think it's like, I don't think it's super amazing, or not as amazing and hype as most people are making it out to be. I think it'll be good. It'll make mosh pit more viable, but it's not going to make ETC broken or anything of the sort. Um, I still think stage dive will be taken a lot because global presence is just really, really important. But yeah, overall, overall it seems like ETC was nerfed primarily because of the lack of damage. And yeah, that's about it for ETC. Moving on to Muradin, let's see. He got quite a few talent reworks. The only couple that I really want to touch upon are reverberation. So this skill got a significant buff in my opinion. Basically, it's kind of like an AoE imposing presence at level 1, if you think about it, right? And like imposing presence is even at level 16, a lot of people considered it to be like an overpowered talent, right? And Tyrael gets like a version of this at level 13 with his shield, right? So to get imposing presence at level 1, in my opinion, is just absolutely insane. I think this skill is way too powerful at the moment, and just like really, really, really good. Second thing is the landing dwarf toss thing, the landing momentum. This is pretty cool. I think this has application for the future, but right now it seems like most players are sticking to the Storm Bolt Pierce at 7, I believe, instead of taking this. So yeah, I think this will be used more in the future as players get used to it, and it's got really nice synergy with Reverb because you get more movement speed to kind of get the reverberation onto their backline, onto the targets that you want to get it on, right? So overall, pretty cool. I think the last one here is Sonia, and basically what Sonia does is she got kind of buffs across the board here. A lot of her talents got buffed slightly, and um, I've played Sonia in the previous patch quite a bit, and I've also played her this patch quite a bit. And overall, I think she did get buffed. A lot of people are complaining about her whirlwind, and what they're complaining about is the heal amount is reduced, right? But honestly, like even though you have to play her a bit different, like you can't out heal like 3 people attacking you if you're whirlwinding in a creep wave anymore. But even if you like play her a bit differently, like I think she was buffed substantially. Whirlwind's cooldown actually went down dramatically. If you do the calculations here, you can like whirlwind all the time now, basically. And if you're just whirlwinding in a creep wave and one person is attacking you, you'll still get all your life back. So, 1 versus 1 Sonya is still a monster. And, at higher levels, people would just instantly interrupt your whirlwind anytime you did it anyway. So I don't think the heal amount here is that big of a deal, this change. The second thing I noticed was that while the heal amount was reduced, I don't think they nerfed the damage of whirlwind. And this is interesting because they substantially lowered the cooldown of Whirlwind, but they did not nerf the damage, right? So that means that, unless I am mistaken about that, Sonya actually pushes and does like Merc camps just as fast as she used to. She doesn't get as much life back, but her pushing power from Whirlwind and Merking power is just as strong as before, and now the cooldown is like substantially reduced. So I think that's pretty cool. Um, Overall, like she got a few talent reworks here and there, and her W doesn't do as much damage as it could have before, but I think that overall it's still a pretty good buff across the board here. And yeah, that's about it for this patch, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know it ran a bit long, but thanks for watching. If you made it this far, make sure to follow and subscribe to my YouTube channel where I'll be putting out a lot of awesome Heroes content. So thanks for watching, guys. If you have any comments, leave them in the section below, and I will see you guys next time.